Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm so excited to announce that I have a special guest on our channel to share the experience of cracking one of the biggest exams in country, the TCS NQT. If you are preparing for the first job or looking to level up in your career with Tata Consultancy Services, you are in the right place. Our guest recently went through the TCS NQT process, and in this video we will walk you through every single detail from the online test to the final interview. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and tuned in until the end of the video for some bonus tips that will help you stand out in TCS NQT.
Hi, Pranav. Welcome to today's podcast. So, we have a couple of questions for you. So, before we get started with all the questions, could you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. I'm Pranav Shah. I completed my graduation from St. Thomas College of Engineering, Kolkata.
Okay.
And I'm currently, my residence is in Kolkata, West Bengal.
Okay. So, give us more details about yourself. What branch had you taken up? Was it computer science or was
Sure,
it?
ma'am. I'm from Information Technology Department.
Okay. And
So,
which role, which
yes, ma'am.
company are you selected for, Pranav?
I'm selected for TCS. The role is Ninja.
Okay. Perfect. So, let me start with today's questions now that we know a little bit about you. Did you get this job on or off campus?
Ma'am, it was off campus.
Okay. So it wasn't on campus. Could you tell us about the
No.
procedure, how you got this? Where did you get notified and all of that?
Sure, ma'am. Actually, like everyone knows about TCS, so I previously registered in the TCS NQT Next Step portal. Then, when off campus that notification was out, there were multiple YouTube channels, and like everywhere notification was coming out. I was following online study for you, so they prepare throughout from the beginning of the say registration process to the end. So I was following the channel, so I got to know them there only.
All right, perfect. So, do you remember like the entire procedure? When did you write the exam? How did you get to know? Like, could you brief us through all of that?
Sure, ma'am. As far as I remember, the deadline was 10th of April for applying the for the procedure, and I received my examination date was of 26th April, written examination.
Right.
It was in TCS Gito.
Okay.
Then after that, the next was around 26th or 29th of May. I
Okay.
received a mail that I was selected for the next round interview.
Okay.
And my interview was scheduled for 26th of June.
Okay. Right. So there was one different 1 month difference from when we were
Yes.
told that you had cleared the test. And
Yes, ma'am.
after so for you to clear the test, like for you to get notified after you had given the test, how long did that take? Enough?
That was also 1 month. That like
1 month.
26th was my exam date. Then 29th, 1 month, 3 days. 29th of May, I received the mail
Okay,
confirmation that I was
perfect.
selected for the next round.
Right. So now that you know that TCS has Ninja, it has Prime and all of that. So were you aware of those roles before?
Yes, ma'am. I was aware of the rules. Mainly because of that, I told that sir Pratik sir made videos like detailing the procedure, everything. So I was well aware about that.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your interviews. Like how did your interviews go? How many rounds did you have to give?
Sure, ma'am. It was actually there was either three member panel, or
Okay.
it was a two-member panel and HR. It was like one round only.
Entire thing
So
was
I
one round. So they're supposed to
yes,
be like TCS is supposed to technically have 3 rounds, technical, managerial, and HR. So you are trying to tell all these 3 rounds happen in one round for you.
yes, ma'am. Actually, yes.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
So uh, I faced manager and technical in one, and HR the different in a different round.
Okay. Right. It was like that. Okay. So how
Yes,
long
ma'am.
were each of those rounds for?
Okay, so the manager and technical was for around 20 minutes,
Okay.
and HR uh, it was like a like 20 people sitting together, and we did not face any HR questions exactly. They were just defining the process, like if we have the eligibility criteria, if we're following the criteria, if we're eligible actually. Like if we are misleading any information, then we should, then there like the basic informations they were telling, and if we're ready for relocating, all the basic things.
Right. Okay.
So, the duration for technical and MR was around 20-25 minutes. For me, it was
And HR?
uh, like 30 minutes.
Because there were
Uh,
so many people.
it,
Right.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So let's get into some real questions now, Pranam. What was your
Sure, ma'am.
preparation strategy? Like you have given various tests, various interviews, right? So how many questions from coding, non-coding did you practice every day?
Uh, I actually, with complete content was from online study. I did not go through like many contents. I was focused on online study for your questions. So I used to give 1 hour for aptitude, reasoning, all those, and 1 hour for coding.
Okay.
Like exactly 1 hour was the time. So if I could solve two codings, then it's good. So I used to do like that only,
Right.
because I had preparation for semester, and also I have to divide time slot that wise. So
Right.
I gave 2 hours to this preparation.
Right. So do you remember how many questions in each aspect that you had solved? Say reasoning, verbal ability, or say coding and all of that. Do you remember the number of questions in each aspect that you had solved?
That will be difficult for me, but as far as I remember, online in online study for you, sir used to give a video lecture for each topic. So
Right.
while he was like in the video lecture, he used to give timer. Like he has a timer, so he
Right.
used to show us the question, then he would pause the timer, tell us to solve the question, then he would go with solution. So accordingly, I prepared.
Right. Perfect. So you're trying to say online study for you has played a major role in
Yes,
your
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
preparation.
Like yes, ma'am. A lot. It has helped me a lot, ma'am.
So there were no other resources that you followed in order to crack the test and interviews.
No, no, ma'am.
Okay,
Like
perfect.
there are many such resources, but if we go into it, we'll get lost. So I focused in online study for you only.
Okay, that's great, Pranam. So now let's try to understand each round in detail. Okay. So do you remember how many questions you were able to attempt correctly when in the online assessment?
Ma'am, again, that would be difficult for me to answer the exact number, but I tried. If it is in like in terms of time, I was able to solve the questions. The time was quite good for me. I was able to solve the answers, but the exact number correctly, that I won't, like I don't think I'll be able to answer correctly as of now.
Right. All right, that there's no problem with that, Pranab. So, how many questions that were asked to you were from online study view? Do you remember any of that?
As I told that I was completely following online study for you. So the questions which I faced were like similar, almost similar to the questions which Pratik sir solved, like we were getting from him.
Right. The
So
pattern was similar, you're trying to say, right?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Only the
Yes.
values and stuff were changed.
Yes, actually, yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So now that you tell me that you don't remember exactly how you performed in each section, but overall you think that you had performed all right. That's why you got selected.
Yes, ma'am. Because I was confident that I would get an interview call. So it was like it was okay for me. So I knew that.
Could you also tell us which was your strongest section and which was your weakest section, and how much time did you give in order to, get better at what you weren't good at?
Ma'am, for me, the strongest was verbal. So I was able to solve verbal like very quickly. And weakest, I would say, logical reasoning, because I need a little more time in solving logical reasoning. So
Right. So did you give more time to reasoning because you weren't, that
yes,
great
ma'am.
at?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you remember how
Yes,
much
ma'am.
time roughly a day?
30 minutes to 35 minutes. Some days it was I used to, as I told that I used to prepare 1 hour for this aptitude. Some days it was only 1 hour for reasoning
Reasoning.
only.
Okay, perfect. I think that's a very good approach to follow because you knew that you weren't good at it. So, do you have any idea how many students were selected for the interview from your college, Pranav?
Ma'am, from my college, it will be around 100, I guess. And from my department, I'm confident it's 25
Oh,
from my department only. So
right,
approx 100 from my college.
right. That's a very good number. All of them were
Yes,
off
ma'am.
campus?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All of them are campus.
Okay. So is it like you come from a tier three college where placement isn't great? That's why you had to go for off campus?
No, ma'am, it's not like that. But this year it was very difficult. Like the
Right.
placements since were very different from other years.
Yeah.
So
Global recession. Right. I understand.
yes, ma'am.
So, Pranam, tell us, how did you prepare for each interview, and how was your interview experience?
Ma'am, for preparation, again, I would say online study for you. I used to follow the video materials only. Like there
Okay.
were mock interviews, all those. So I used to follow that a lot.
Mhm.
And then coming to my experience, it was not very good. It was not very bad. Like my TR, he actually asked me the first question he asked me, I was unable to answer that. So he looked very dissatisfied. And before that, like two of my previous, like we were asked four of us to wait outside the lobby, and each one of us were going around turn by turn. So the I was a third person. The other two, they also had a very terrible experience. So I
Okay.
was expecting that it will not go well because I don't like there was some fear because both of them before me they did not have a very good experience. So the first question he asked me, I was not able to answer that. It was from hash map.
Okay.
Then he looked very dissatisfied and he just leaned back and uh, told the manager that our key question code over there, like this was the actual expression. So I was very frightened. Then I looked at my manager. She then started asking questions. Then she first told me that tell me from where should I ask because we are sitting here to hire you. So tell me from where should I ask you questions. So I told her, ma'am, you can ask me questions from oops DBMS, my project. So then she again directed me towards TR to so that he could ask me from question from oops. Then TR asked me difference between encapsulation and abstraction. So I told him the difference. Then I gave him a real world example and I asked him if I should write the code for it also. Then he told me, no, no, it's not needed. He then told that you are from IT and I'm asking questions of oops from electrical and electronics department, and you are being from IT and you're telling to ask questions from oops. That's not very good. Then he again told the MR to ask questions. Then she started questioning me from DBMS, that joints, normalization,
Right.
and few of the queries she gave me to write. Then she asked me questions from my project, but that's it.
Okay.
Like the
So,
objective, what was my role, the tech stack,
okay.
that's it,
So
ma'am.
the students that I've talked to before for the podcast, Pranam, they've told me how all of their focus was either on Java or SQL. Was it the same for you, or was it different?
Yes, ma'am. I also like completely focused on Java and SQL only.
Okay.
So
The questions were asked on these two topics in specific.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It was resume and my introduction based only. So,
What about your projects? How much significance did they hold for you?
ma'am, I would say projects was another important part for this interview because I did a project on one of the latest technology, that was blockchain technology.
Right.
So, well, like it played a major role. Most of the time was spent asking questions of the project only. So,
So how much would you say? Like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if you were to categorize? Because I know projects hold like a very
ma'am, if I
important
if
role.
I divide the whole interview, I would say 35 to 40% weightage was given to my project only.
Okay. All right. Which means say 10 minutes of the discussion was going to go into the projects alone.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How
Yes,
many
ma'am.
projects had you built? Because I think the curriculum has about two projects, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how many had
I
you built?
actually I had in my resume I gave only two projects only. The one was that blockchain technology. Another was a Spring Boot project, a
Okay.
library management system using Spring Boot. So that two only.
Okay, perfect. So these were the questions. And if you were to rate the difficulty on a scale of 1 to 5, what was the difficulty of the questions that were asked you?
I mean the written examination or
No,
the
I'm talking
interview.
about the interviews in specific.
Ma'am, the questions from DB, ma'am, like Java, I was asked a question from hash map. So it was not very difficult. It was my fault I did not prepare. So I would say it was medium level, not very hard, not very easy. It was
Medium
like
level.
medium only.
Right. So, was your like we've already talked about it, right? Your tech and MR round was separate, and your HR round was
Yeah,
separate. That was for 20 minutes,
yes,
and
ma'am.
this was for 30 minutes because there were a lot of people. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So, do you remember the exact kind of questions? Did they ask you about the strengths, the weakness, and all of that in your HR interview?
No, I mean, various of my friends faced these questions and many such questions, but because I was in a of a slot of 30, like many people, so such questions was not asked to me.
Hmm.
They just specified if we were ready.
Okay. So, do you have any advice to give for your juniors or like, anyone who would watch this podcast, Pranav?
I would say that they should they must focus on the resume and the introduction, because that is very important, I guess. For me, the project also, like the final year project also. So these three things is most important. Like it will, the introduction will allow the MR and TR to some direction. Otherwise, there are so many topics, like their industry experience, so they can ask questions from anywhere and everywhere.
Right.
So unless and until we as like students, if we do not direct them to some position of our strength, it will get difficult for us only. So the resume and introduction must be very carefully made.
Right. So, Pranab, is there anything that you would want to say to the founders of Online Study for You or the people who are working so hard to put out content? Is there anything that you want to say?
I would be grateful and just like thank them for such a like for me, I was not allowed to sit for on campus or because of some reason. So my only hope was TCS, because no other company was like hiring or did not conduct off campus procedure. TCS was the first one. So
Right.
for me, TCS was everything, and they helped me a lot, the entire team. So it was very like I will be very thankful to them.
Right. This is, I think, such a great podcast. Now, thank you so much for joining us and telling all of your, all the tips that you had to give and your experience that you had to tell. So I think this was brilliant. Thank you so much for taking out time for this, and hopefully we'll
Thank
see
you,
you
ma'am.
again.